Hey you friends of Jesus and Dorothy. I will now be ranking the Prog solo albums of Neal Morse. This man releases albums under so many different projects, it's hard to keep up, but some are just released under his name and I've decided to rank these separately, as they aren't conceptually linked to a certain project, and his singer-songwriter albums are tonally different to his progressive output. Enjoy! Number 11 is Testimony 2, the second part to his religious autobiography series. Lyrically, it does paint a pretty good picture of his decision to leave Spock's beard and go down the religious route. Musically, it's good with nice callbacks to the first Testimony, but it's not as gripping as the first part. The overall lineup of musicians is also very impressive, working with his old pals in Spock's beard again on one track. But as always, Neal has to be odd with his releases, having a second disc that accompanies his concept albums with songs not relating to the actual concept itself. And on this disc it has the epic track Seeds of Gold, which is one of his most accomplished longer tracks. Number 10 is The Dreamer, Joseph, Part 1. The first part of his retelling of the Joseph story from the Bible. It has a lot of great discordant musical motifs that merge pretty oddly well with the fun Broadway-inspired musical-sounding sections. While this overall project pales in comparison to Jesus Christ, The Exorcist, it's still overall enjoyable, even if it does feel rather incomplete. I understand that this was done by design, but it overall does make the listener want more, not just from the overall project but the album itself. There are guest vocalists throughout, but it does ring more as a concept album. The psychedelic moments throughout is a nice unique touch to Neal's overall noticeable sound. The track I'd recommend is the Dreamer Overture. Number 9 is Sola Gratia, a spiritual sequel to his monumental Sola Scriptura album. It sees Neal make an interesting concept album based on Paul, from his time as a tax collector that turned into one of the first Christian missionaries. Not as gripping or as impactful as its spiritual predecessor, musically it does have some interesting peaks and valleys throughout. But the longer tracks, Never Change That then goes into Seemingly Sincere as the real overall highlight of the album, showcasing great drama and emotion. Being influenced by his success with Jesus Christ, The Exorcist, there are Broadway musical sounding moments throughout that are a nice touch, but you kind of feel like that overall sound should be more present. But by itself, it's still a great album. Number 8 is The Restoration, Joseph, Part 2. The second part of his concept based on the biblical Joseph story. Compared to the first part, it is an overall more complete and far more enjoyable album with its own spirit. Maybe it's because it's the culmination of the whole concept and has a more triumphant atmosphere, but I find it to be the better of the two. The guest vocalists do a great job on this one too. The track I'd recommend is The Brothers Repent Joseph Revealed. Number 7 is Lifeline. After Sola Scriptura, Neal easily could have gone down the path of making more dramatic concept albums, but instead he followed it up with a return to his more positive Spock's beard feeling type of sound. Made mostly with his classic lineup, featuring drumming legend Mike Portnoy and Randy George, it showcases great songwriting with the odd fun experiment along with the typical happy-go-lucky vibe he is known for. It would be the perfect album to recommend a first-timer to Morse's work. Lyrically it does focus on Neal's Christian message, but it comes from a more positive spin. I also recommend getting the special edition of this album, because it contains a lot of great fun cover songs. The track I'd recommend is Lifeline. Number 6 is Momentum, Very much a continuation of what he was doing on Lifeline. It also sees the seeds of what was to come, with all members of the Neal Morse Band appearing on the album before their soon-to-be formation 3 years later. It brings back the energy found on albums like Day for Night or The Kindness of Strangers that Morse had made with Spock's Beard, but with an overall religious sheen. The highlight moment is the epic track World Without End, which overall is one of Morse's greatest achievements. The rest of the tracks are a lot of fun too. Number 5 is Testimony, his return to the progressive rock world after leaving Spock's Beard. It proved that he could still make fantastic epic music, even if it comes with a religious preaching angle. For fans of his who wanted to know why he left the band he formed, this was very much a detailed explanation. Autobiography meets rock opera is the tone of the album, with great songwriting that meets great progressive rock orchestration. The track I'd recommend is Colder in the Sun. Number 4 is Question Mark. If you love Sola Scriptura, but are interested to see where the pivot came from, then this album pretty much explains it, as it shows a more dramatic side to Neal's progressive rock sound. Darker tones, more moments of discordant eclectic sounds, but still keeping the overall positive sheen that Neal pushes forward. It does overall seem like a trial run for what he would accomplish on his next album. Also, the lineup of guest musicians is a fantastic range of talent from legends of the progressive music world. But overall as it is, it's a fantastic achievement in his discography. The track I'd recommend is In the Fire. Number 3 is One, the first album he recorded with his classic trio lineup, with Mike Portnoy and Randy George. The overall music on this is pretty spectacular, with fantastic musicianship and some brilliant arrangements and orchestration throughout. A concept album that deals with the theme of man's relationship with God. It has some interesting lyrics throughout, that whether you agree or disagree, it still has an interesting message overall. The opening track The Creation is a fantastically crafted epic, with fantastic instrumental sections, orchestration and a great emotional palette. The rest of the tracks are also fantastically arranged, with great pacing, emotion and a great triumphant conclusion. Number 2 is Jesus Christ, The Exorcist. When I heard the announcement of this project, I actually thought it was a joke, or the title of a really good but bad B-movie. Sadly, my dream of seeing a cross between Jesus Christ Superstar and The Exorcist has never came to pass, but this is a pretty monumental achievement for Morse. Pretty much a fully fledged musical, without the acting. It showcases an incredibly wide range of guest musicians, in particular all 3 vocalists of Spock's Beard, including Morse himself. The track that stands out is Love Will Call My Name, which I believe is the only song to have every lead vocalist Spock's Beard has had on it. It also has one of the many incredible catchy themes that comes back throughout that will get stuck in your head. Overall, the concept is handled very well too, with the main focus being on Jesus' ability to exorcise demons from people. While it is a story that has been told to death, it is overall handled well with a lot of passion behind it. It's incredibly infectious and overall I think it's one of his many masterpieces. In my opinion, the best Neal Morse Prog solo album is Sola Scriptura. The first solo album I heard from Morse. I ventured into his work due to being a fan of Dream Theater, and hearing that Mike Portnoy would be drumming on it. Thankfully I stumbled on Morse's work, because the world that it opened for me was a journey I was very much ready to be taken on, and this album was the perfect soundtrack. A concept album about Martin Luther and his battles with the Catholic Church and his own faith. Lyrically, it's full of Morse's most interesting imagery and wordplay, while still being able to keep the religious message strong within it. Musically, it's an incredible undertaking, mixing epic orchestration with gothic atmospheres that gives the whole album an overall haunting atmosphere. Dark throughout, but with tinges of light, it has a little bit of everything packed with 3 epic tracks and 1 nice ballad. But the real highlights are the songs The Door and The Conflict, 2 mammoth suites with incredible drama and some of the best technical music that Morse has come up with. Morse's guitar and keyboard work is utterly fantastic, and the guest solos from Paul Gilbert are utterly spellbinding. An incredibly epic feat, and in my opinion, one of the greatest albums ever made. Thanks for watching. Recommend me another artist to do this with, or else I'll start the Second Reformation and create a religion based on obscure Star Trek references.